It's almost like the
Yeah.
text is offering empathy for our experience in the world. Slow
Yeah.
down. It's hard. I get it, but I'm going to sit here in this difficulty with you. Here we go. Peter, what are you talking about? That's this story. We are already in John 18. Welcome back, everybody. Another week, another episode of The Word Made Fresh. Reverend Thorne, you are in the pulpit, and it feels like Holy Week because we are in the late chapters of John. Peter's about to deny Jesus. Jesus is before the high priest. Okay, what's going on in John 18, 12 to 27? And remind us again why we're at Holy Week so soon.
Well, it really has a lot to do with how the narrative lectionary has laid out the story, and it's really kind of beautiful, I think, because we get these stories generally Holy Week, and everything is so crushed together.
Blink and you miss it. Yeah.
Yeah, blink and you miss it, and there's a power to that because I think we feel the rhythm, and we feel the urgency, and we feel the uh, like the high stakes of the week. And so if you're with us for Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, Easter, the whirlwind of it, I think that does something to our imagination and our body. I think the gift of this year is that it's all slowed down. It's like everything is in slow motion. So every Sunday we get to sit in the shadows, gather around the fire with Peter and Jesus, stand with Jesus as his hands are bound, and imagine what that is like. And I think there's a certain beauty in experiencing the story in a slow rhythm where we get to sit and digest it a little bit.
Yeah, you notice different details when you
Right,
don't just rush to the next beat, but you actually
right,
be you're invited to. We can't guarantee that everyone will notice those details, but I think
right.
there's a lot of power in that. Yeah, we
Absolutely.
too often Easter's the finish line for the season of Lent, and what does it mean to
Mhm.
actually just go at a slower pace for Lent to be the point of the season of Lent? And I think
Right,
moments like
right.
this invite us into that.
Yeah, and I think it's Lent and lament. And I think in this point in our world and in our nation, when we are just bombarded with so much that is lamentable in our own personal lives, I've got three dear friends who are battling with breast cancer. When we look at what's happening in our neighborhoods, one of our colleagues said, she had walked out her door, ice was on in both directions where she could take her kids to school. She could see ICE officers. So in our local neighborhoods, in our city, our state, our world, Congo and Sudan continue to be heartbreaking situations, as does Gaza, Ukraine, and the list is, I could list catastrophes for the next, many hours. To be able to slow down and say, I'm feeling this way about my friends. I'm feeling this way about ICE in my neighborhood. I am questioning my faith and whether I can claim Jesus or whether I'm going to, like Peter, say some things that are lamentable to me and who I understand myself to be later. I think that's a real gift right now because we are hustling to the next rally, rushing to write the next letter and sign the next petition. And we don't generally do a good job of pausing uh, to cry, to name the shadow. And this is Healing Sunday for us. So we're also, last year, we noted the fifth anniversary of COVID. And it was such a powerful worship service that our people said we needed to do it every week. And so rather than every week, sorry, every year. So
Both probably are true.
yeah, probably, probably that is true. And so rather than having a focus on COVID, it is one of the things that we lament. We decided there's so many things that need healing, so many things that are hurting us, that every Sunday, every year, close to the anniversary of the COVID sort of lockdown, which was, I think, March 13, we would have this service where we paused and offered an opportunity for people to name grief, name pain, and heal themselves, their loved ones, and the world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this text really invites us into that because it is Peter's denial, Jesus on trial. There's a lot of things where the story's not going the way we expect. And
Oh,
almost
yeah.
that's what grief is. It's wait,
Yeah.
I had what I thought was my storyline, and then here's an unexpected disruption.
Right.
That's the traumatic moment that this, this is the diagnosis from the doctor. This is the headline that just popped up. Or wait, what about that headline? We've all been distracted. There's so much that
So much.
it's disrupting the trajectory we anticipated. And that's
Yeah.
what this moment is too. We're on this trajectory towards Easter. We all feel that. We know where the story ends. Sorry, spoiler alert. But I love how you could imagine a narrative lectionary through John that just keeps giving us, the seven signs. That could have been 7 weeks of seven miracles. But no, we got those. We front ended with let's give some
Yeah.
context,
Yeah.
and now we really have this long stretch to sit with the things that are difficult. It's almost like the
Yeah.
text is offering empathy for our experience in the world. Slow
Yeah.
down. It's hard. I get it, but I'm going to sit here in this difficulty with you.
Right, right. God is with us. And I think that's what is abundantly clear. Jesus is gracious. Um, Naming sorrow and pain is a different kind of power. I
Yeah.
think the sermon title is something like A Different Kind of Power, because I think there's still too many of us who think weeping and lamenting are weak. But, getting all of that stuff out of our body, noticing and naming what is burdening us offers a certain kind of liberation, gives us a certain kind of power. To say, I am a sinner, Lord, I am not worthy, and to receive the grace that, Jesus will offer Peter after he has done this lamentable thing to his friend. And of course, it's beautiful modeling for us, I think, when we are encountering others in the world who are difficult to love. Jesus does this with Peter. He's going to do this with Judas. He does it with us. And the invitation, of course, is for us to do it with one another. That also is a different kind of power than the domineering power that we see in the world. And this also is what we notice in this slowed down text is a flip about how we think about power and how power is used. So last week we talked about taking a knee and kneeling to wash feet. That's a different understanding
Yep.
of what it means to be powerful. Slowing down to name pain and lament is another shift in the way that we understand ourselves and Jesus as people of power.
Just thinking of like the characters we're seeing last week, this week, and next week. Last week
Mhm.
Jesus took that knee, the role of the servant. This week
Yes,
we get the high priest. That's one religious figure, and then next week, well, I think we're at Pontius Pilate next
we
week.
are,
So we get
right?
the government. So we have such a contrast of
Yep,
powerful figures and how Jesus
right.
is interacting with them and how we show up and what power really means. And there's a lot
Hmm.
going on in these weeks
Yeah,
here.
yeah. And how intoxicating it can be. So, like next week, we'll be talking about Pontius Pilate and how I think he sees what is happening, but he is not able to let go and do the thing that I think in his heart he knows is right. It's like, how am I going to give up all of this, right? How am I going to, I can't give it up. And we see that happening with other people. And of course, I'm sure at some level and some degree, it has happened to us
Yeah.
where we have looked the other way, denied Jesus for our comfort, for our
Yeah.
protection. And I will say this part as well. Resma Menakem, who wrote My Grandmother's Hands, will talk about these things we do where we look back and think, oh, I failed. I failed because I denied Jesus. But he says we've also got to respect our body's instinct to protect itself.
Mm.
And that does not make us deficient. Peter did a very human thing. I imagine it was terrifying to be in the court, to be in the place where people are about to kill Jesus, right? Where standing up and saying, he's my friend, could have, it's like, oh, he's your friend. Well, you come on over here too and join
Yeah.
the frenzy. So we can't look down on Peter. We have to respect the fact that he was protecting himself.
Yeah.
And that does not make him defective. It makes him human, right?
That's the only way to learn, right? By
Yes,
doing it wrong. That's how you learn to do it not
right.
as wrong the next time. And so it's easy to be like, oh, you failed because you did it wrong. I mean, come on. My kids are learning to run. They fall a lot. That's part of
Yeah.
the process. I'm trying to figure out how to snowboard. I spend most of my time, lying on the ground. You got to do it wrong in order to do it right. The trick
Right,
is to keep going even after you've done it wrong. And the
right.
grateful thing is that Peter, he feels what he should feel in that moment, that human feeling, but then he
Hmm.
doesn't just abandon ship, and Jesus doesn't be like, dude, you cut
Right,
me, I'm cutting you
right.
out too.
That's right.
that's the story of humanity. We get to keep trying
Yeah.
again and
We
again and
get to
again.
keep trying. And I think in this story, we get to keep trying, and we know oftentimes when we do the right thing, when we do stand up, when we do protect our friend, we could die. Like
Yeah,
Jesus will die, like Keith Porter died, Renee Good, Alex Pretty, so many unnamed people who may not die, but their careers end, they're
yeah,
ostracized. They,
yeah,
Colin Kaepernick, right, took a knee, did the right thing, lost his entire career,
yeah,
but gained a lot of things. I mean, has planted seeds for a movement that is still being talked about. So
yeah,
there's a trade-off in doing the good thing and the right thing as well.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's this Sunday. There's also some special surprises because there'll be some interactive spaces, I think, happening. So join
Right.
us on Sunday for worship. Open Bible studies at 9:30. Worship begins at 10:30, and it's going to
Hmm.
be another incredible Sunday together. We'll see everyone then.